Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the Township of Union, which is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Law C-231, Laws of New Jersey, dated 1975. Notice of this meeting was posted in the local source, the newspaper of record. The notice has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building adjacent to the municipal clerk's office. Roll call.
Mr. Wiley is absent. Ms. Martins.
Here.
Mr. Bentavegin.
Here.
Ms. Scott is absent. Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. McNeil.
Here.
Mr. Graves.
Present.
Ms. Ricketts is absent. Mr. Champion.
Here. There being a quorum present, this meeting is now declared open. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from our February the 5th, 2025 meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the meeting minutes of February 5th, 2025 be approved as written and dispensed with their reading.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Mr. Manguso, at this time, are there any communications?
There are no communications, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing none. Our case this evening is calendar number 3381, NATC Donuts Incorporated, located at 320 Chestnut Street at the 5 Points, Block 905, Lot 50. Applicant wishes to construct a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts and install new signage. Mr. Paparo, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you. For the record, Joe Paparo from Porzio, Bromberg, and Newman on behalf of the applicant, NATC Donuts, Inc. As noted, this is an application for preliminary and final site plan and variance approvals for the property located at 320 Chestnut Street. That is the site of the existing Dunkin'. The proposal before you this evening is a request to replace the existing Dunkin' with a new modern drive-through dual-lane Dunkin' Donuts facility. This site is located in the NC zone. Restaurants with drive-thrus are not permitted in the NC zone, therefore we're requesting a D1 use variance. As you'll hear this evening, in addition to the use variance, there are some related variances and design waivers for the proposal. This applicant has owned and operated the Dunkin' at 5 Points for 30 years at this location. The proposal is to replace an outdated, antiquated facility with a modern dual-lane drive-through facility, drive-through only. The witnesses this evening will go through operational testimony as well as civil engineering to discuss the improvements, talk about the traffic analysis that was performed. The architect will go through the new modern facility with you, and finally our professional planner will come forward and address the variance relief that we're seeking. Due to the site's location on 2 county roads, the applicant and its team invested significant time meeting with the County of Union Traffic Division for over a year now to be sure that the county's input and their recommendations were incorporated. The applicant also had extensive meetings with the Township of Union Police Department to ensure that the township's police and safety concerns were also incorporated. We're happy to report to you that the plan that's presented to you this evening is a result of that collaborative effort with both the County of Union and the Township of Union Police Department. The plans that you're considering this evening incorporate those recommendations. As was included with the application that you have, there is a county approval letter dated June 26, 2024. We've received all of the various reports from the Township of Union departments. And we would note that the police department's latest comment letter says no further comments. Again, the efforts of the applicant's team to proactively meet with both the county and the township's police departments demonstrates the applicant's commitment to ensuring that this project can be built and be a vital part of the community and the business corridor along Chestnut Street and Galloping Hill Road. We are going to address each and every one of the department comments, including the township engineer's comment letters this evening, but I did want to note at the outset that the police department's latest report evidences the satisfaction with the latest design. Unless there's any preliminary questions, I guess I'll defer to council. Mr. Pensula, did you want to mark?
Yes, I have pre-marked, and just for the record, too, I should have did it administratively when the meeting was called. There is a closed session noted on tonight's agenda. I, as the attorney for the board, updated the members on some legal issues that are unrelated to tonight's case. It was a general discussion due to potential conflicts for future cases. So it had nothing to do with tonight, but it is on the agenda, so note that for the minutes and for the record, that I, as counsel, addressed the board as a legal tutorial in that regard. For tonight's case, yes, good seeing you again, Mr. Caparo. I did mark A1, the application as it was submitted. A2 is the site plan presented by Dynamic Engineers consisting of 18 sheets. A3 is the one-page survey that was presented. A4 is the 2 pages of architectural plans. A5 is the initial traffic impact study. A6 is the supplemental traffic assessment that was supplied. And A7 is the drainage statement. So A1 through A7 are marked for identification and will be moved into the record, and we proceed from there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pensula. Appreciate that. And we'll begin our presentation with our civil engineer, Brett Skapinitz.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you can provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
If you could, for the record, state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Sure. First name is Brett, B-R-E-T-T. Last name Skapinetz, S-K-A-P-I-N-E-T-Z.
Thank you.
Mr. Skapinitz, I know you have, well, before we get into the exhibits, can you briefly give your education, area of expertise, and the licenses you hold?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Rutgers University. I'm a licensed civil engineer, licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, as well as a professional planner. Licensed in the state for over 20 years, and have testified.
The board will accept his credentials.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Brett, before you give any testimony on any exhibits, if you could please just mark them into the record, picking up with A8 would be your first exhibit, and just describe what A8 represents for the record.
Yes, I have just a few exhibits to present. The first one I'll start with is what's up on the screen now, entitled Aerial Map Exhibit, with a, well, let me just get used to moving this thing. So aerial map exhibit with a preparation date of 2/19/25. It's similar to the aerial map that will be it's in the site plan set. It's not been modified for presentation tonight. So we'll mark that A8. Just simply putting this up on the screen just to give the visual. I'm sure the board is very familiar with the location of the site at 5 points. The site is bound, as you look at the parcel in question, outlined in yellow. Again, noted as block 905, lot 0.01, lot 50. It's a lot of 0.253 acres, or just a smidge over 11,000 square feet. You can see it's a regular shape, triangular shape, and it is bound by Tucker to the west. You have Chestnut to the east, and Freeman Circle, which is the connection between Tucker and Chestnut to the south. Surrounding the site, really to all sides, are all commercial properties in the NC zone. And just beyond that, beyond those commercial uses are residential uses, as you can see in the exhibit. That's really all I intended to do, is just to give just a basic bearings with respect to the location of the site via this plan, and then I'll look to move on to the next exhibit.
Sure, Brett. Just to confirm something that I mentioned in my opening, this site is bound by 2 roadways that fall under the County of Union's jurisdiction, correct?
That is correct. Both Tucker and Chestnut are under county jurisdiction. So the next exhibit I want to bring up is the survey of the property, just showing what's out there today. I just think it's important, obviously, to understand what we're doing by starting out showing what's on the property. So same orientation as the aerial exhibit. Tucker is to the top of the page or to the east, with Chestnut to the west, and Chestnut to the east or to the bottom of the page. So currently on the site today is an existing Dunkin' restaurant. It's of 1,453 square feet. There are no drive-throughs. It does have two access points, one at Tucker Avenue, and I'll zoom in just a little bit more to the plan. There's one access drive off of Tucker, very close to the turn, getting onto to Freeman Circle, and then directly opposite that on Chestnut is the second driveway. There are 16 parking spaces that serve that restaurant currently today, and as you can see, most of the site is comprised of the building, the paving, and then out in front towards Galloping Hill Road to the north is a paver area that also has the current ID sign located within it. As I noted, and we'll go through this a little bit further when we talk about some of the variances and waivers, you can see obviously the irregular shape in more detail here. The building, as it currently stands, sits basically right on the property line with Chestnut Street, almost on the property line with Tucker. And same thing with all the ancillary parts to the current layout, the parking, the trash enclosure, all sit in very close proximity to the property lines. And we're going to be looking for some similar relief for those same structures, but we're looking to obviously improve upon that with the new plan. You'll see that as I turn to that in a moment. I think with respect to this plan, just to note, obviously, all existing utilities are all there today, and I'll describe it a little bit further. We're looking to utilize all those same utilities. There are sidewalks that are both on Tucker and along Chestnut that exist today. We're looking to replace those upon our discussions with the county, and I'll show that in the proposed plan as well.
And Brett, before you move on, regarding existing site access and circulation, are there any restrictions currently, or are those both just free-flowing driveways that you've identified?
No, there are definitely restrictions. So Tucker Avenue right now, it flows from, you turn onto Tucker from Galloping Hill Road. It is one way from north to south, and you are able to either proceed straight on Tucker, or you can make the left onto Freeman Circle, which is also one way from west or from the top of the page down to the bottom. So as a result, Tucker Avenue is only permitted for left turns in and left turns out, whereas Chestnut Street, that driveway allows full movements in, so you can make left turns in or right turns in, but you can only make right turns out of that driveway. There is a sign that prohibits left turns out of that drive. And Chestnut Street is two-way in both. You can travel in either direction. So if there's no other questions with regards to the survey and the existing conditions, I'll move on to the proposed. And you know what? I'm sorry. You know what? I didn't do, Joe. I did not.
The aerial
for the
survey
record.
was A9, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I didn't describe it. You want me to just throw the description on the record?
I noted it for the record.
You know,
A9 is the aerial survey
Okay.
version, and the A8 was the aerial map exhibit. So
Okay.
we're up to A10 is, I guess, this colorized aerial.
Yes, and A10 is site plan rendering, and has a preparation date of 2/19/2025. So this site plan rendering is a colorized version of our site plan, which has been enhanced to obviously show the colors of the building, paving, pavers. You can see those pretty clearly, but also landscaping, highlighting sidewalk and other concrete areas that are being proposed on the site, as well as exist just around the perimeter of the site. So once again, same configuration as the previous two exhibits with Tucker to the top, Chestnut to the bottom. The proposal is to demolish the existing building and to construct a brand-new structure of 1,090 square feet, so approximately 350 feet smaller than the current structure that's out there today. So smaller structure, and you can see now we're going to introduce the drive-through component, which is not there today. So it'll be drive-up lanes, 2 entering into 2 ordering windows or 2 ordering stations that are located in this plan, the upper left-hand corner. As you're looking at the plan, I'll move the cursor to it. I'm sorry, this is my first time not using a paper exhibit and using the electronic, so it'll take me a moment to get used to my bearings here. So you have the ordering stations, and then turns into a single lane, which proceeds around the building in a counterclockwise direction. We only propose 2 parking spaces on the plan. Per code, this is a restaurant. Your restaurant, for restaurants, your code requires 1 parking space per 60 square feet of floor area, but notes that net floor area, net floor area is defined as public area. We don't have public area inside this building. Only employees will be in here. There will be no seats. There's no ability to walk up and order. You're basically only ordering through the drive-through lanes. So no employees or no public area here. We technically, per code, require 0 parking spaces. But we are providing 2. Those are located off just to the north of the building. I've moved the cursor there. And just beyond, and one of those spaces is an ADA accessible space, a van accessible space. We are moving, as a result of that shift of the building to the south from where it's located today on site, we're also moving the access. And this was obviously the key point, as Mr. Reparo noted, why we had our discussions up front with the county and ultimately the police, to get an understanding that our shifting of the building, our movement of this access, particularly given the unique arrangement of the roads, how they all fall together. And I mean, obviously it's 5 points, multiple roads, multiple intersections, that they would be accepting our change to the access. And ultimately, this plan has been accepted, as Mr. Reparo noted. We have county approval. We have the endorsement from the Township Police as well for it. And this driveway, like the current driveways, will have restrictions in movement. Similar for the driveway on Tucker Avenue as is today, it'll be restricted to left in, left out. It's the only thing that can happen, given that Tucker is a one-way driveway from north to south. With respect to Chestnut Street, we are proposing a right-in, right-out driveway. We had proposed, as you see in the plan, you'll see the arrow that shows the stop bar and an arrow saying right-hand turn only. For the inbound driveway, we originally had proposed full movements. We went to the county, it was okayed there, but there was concern upon Township Police on having left turns in. So we agreed that we would only have right turn movements only into that driveway.
And the plan was modified to reflect the police department's recommendation and went back to the county and they endorsed it?
That is correct.
Okay.
So other improvements with respect to the site, I mentioned the 2 parking spaces. Right in front of that is where we're putting the trash enclosure. This will be a brand new 10-foot by 20-foot enclosure with masonry walls that'll match the building. The exterior of those walls will match the building. That will be, then that'll be, beyond that, we have the paver area where the ID sign is currently located. We're not changing that. The ID sign will stay in its current location, and same with those pavers. What we're doing in that area, though, is enhancing the landscaping, both around the enclosure to provide more robust landscaping to shield it from the corner, and then enhancing other areas and the islands to either side of the parking stalls as well. If we move further to the south towards the building, there is a walkway going from the 2 parking spaces that leads to the building. That walkway is serving employees primarily that would be anticipated, or customers that may be parked in that parking space in front of the trash enclosure that could be stationed there in case there's a delay in their order. They may be directed to park there. But with respect to the sidewalk, that walkway is mainly for, again, employees that may be parking in those stalls, be able to walk into the building. There is obviously then moving further to the back end of the building, on the south side, you'll see a structure, a gray box. That is a generator for the building. That will also be screened around the entirety, all four sides, with additional landscaping. We have a walkway on the back side of the building as well that is for service purposes, for employees to be able to walk from the back of the building to get over to the drive-up lanes. If you further look at so when we go to the drive-through lanes themselves, we have two 10-foot lanes at the very beginning or start of the drive-through lanes. As customers proceed in either one of those, they go to either one of the ordering areas, which there are a menu board and obviously an ordering speaker for each. They each also too have a small canopy over them that is illuminated to light up that area at nighttime. The customer then, once they've placed their order, and many of you have seen this in other fast food type restaurants that have drive-throughs that go from 2 to 1, they will then merge to one lane that is 16 feet in width, and those cars will then proceed to go and pick up their order at the windows. In this plan, from a landscaping standpoint, you'll see that we've provided sufficient landscaping or substantial landscaping, particularly in the corners of the site, that will help aid in blocking those drive-up ordering areas and provide additional shielding and screening. The lighting on the plan, we do propose 4 new area lights. They're LED fixtures, 12 feet in height. We also are proposing new building-mounted fixtures on the building. Those will also be LED fixtures. With respect to this plan, we are reducing the amount of stormwater, we are reducing the amount of impervious coverage on site. So there is a reduction, and since we don't trigger the new stormwater regs based on the size of the property or by not increasing the amount of impervious coverage, we're not proposing any new detention facilities. Right now, stormwater is generally just sheet flowing and running off out of the driveways from the parking areas into the streets and being collected by the existing stormwater system in in Chestnut and Tucker. We're going to be introducing some new piping and inlets on site to collect it on site and bring it to those inlets. But there is like I said, there is a reduction in impervious coverage of approximately 1,000 square feet on site as a result of this plan. From a utility standpoint, all existing utilities I mentioned before, they're all there. We're just making reconnections to the new building now it's being relocated further to the south. So I did note in the description of, as I was going through the existing conditions, you'll see in the plan that there are sidewalks again along Tucker and Chestnut. As a result of the county approval, we will be replacing those sidewalks along both frontages. Back to the building, when it comes to signage, let me start with the ID sign. There is the existing ID sign out there today. It is approximately 15 feet in height and has an area of about 41.5 square feet. We are going to be replacing the top of that sign. That sign is going to be replaced with a new sign of 46.76 square feet, and it's going to ultimately stand 17 feet in height. What's allowed for a sign in the NC zone is 50 square feet, so we're under that, and we're under the 20 feet in height allowed. But do want to note that the sign clearance that's required for that sign is 15 feet. Currently existing out there today, it's 10.5 feet. We're going to be looking at about 10.5 feet under proposed conditions, so we're just going to maintain the clearance underneath, and we would need to continue the variance for that. There are also 2 directional signs There's one directional sign at the Chestnut Street driveway, and there's another directional sign that is for customers coming in off of Tucker, that is located right at the beginning of the drive-through lanes. Each of those signs are directional signs pointing them to the drive-through lanes, so directing the traffic as they enter into the site to that point. When it comes to building facade signs, there is one on each side of the building. The requirement for area per code is 10% of the facade area is what's allowed for each side, for each sign. And we do fall under that requirement for each one of the proposed signs. The one on the north facade is 22 square feet, where 34.92 square feet is allowed. The one on the south facade is 11, where 35 is allowed. The one on east side is 81, where 87 is allowed. And the one on the west facade is again 11.5, where 87 is allowed. So well under for each one of those locations. When it comes to the sign dimensions, they all meet the requirement, and with respect to clearances and their projection as well. The illumination of those signs, there's the signs on the north, the west, and the south side are internally illuminated. The one on the east side of the building, which is the largest of the signs, is externally illuminated. There will be 10 gooseneck lights that will shine down and project light onto the sign. They'll be situated such that the light fixture itself, you won't be able to see the fixture or the element of that light. As was noted, obviously, we have the county approval. We did also submit to the Somerset Union Soil Conservation District earlier on. We'll resubmit to them, but it's generally the same plan. They did endorse it a few years ago. And with respect to the local agencies, as Mr. Papero noted, we did get positive letters from both police and fire as being the main ones.
There's a couple things, Brett, if you're done in your direct, I wanted to have you circle back to. One of the discussion points, it's my understanding, with the county was what's shown on your plan as a proposed parking on Tucker Avenue. Can you speak to that?
Yes, I can. So, and I missed that there are the two parking spaces that are on site, but we were also proposing 4 parking spaces parallel on Tucker Avenue. So you can see those designated. I'll zoom in a little bit further. So they're up against the curb, parallel, 3 to the north side of the driveway and 1 to the south side of the driveway.
In the county, as part of their endorsement of this project, endorsed those parking spaces in their right-of-way,
They
correct?
did, yes. So technically speaking, while those are off-site, and we do have 2, we do have those 4 to utilize, so 6 in total for the plan.
We're going to have the operator come up shortly to talk about operations and additional information. Your understanding from discussing this project with the applicant and the operator is that that's effectively where some folks are parking now currently, correct?
That's correct.
So this proposal is really just formalizing what's happening out there today. Is that accurate?
That's right.
Tucker Avenue, from an engineering standpoint, you mentioned it's one way. Are you comfortable from an engineering perspective that because it's one way only, that having those parallel parking spaces will still allow sufficient drive aisle width?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, well, not only one way, but it's a very wide, right? It's a very wide cartway that's there. So there's more than sufficient room to be able to provide those stalls and still allow for safe movements, both for cars, really, I mean, a couple cars to be able to go, once they enter in, and be able to veer off either into the lane to go straight ahead, and also at the same time get into the lane that is making the left-hand turn while a car is parked in the parallel spot, and that's really the space that's to the south of the driveway. You have enough room for 3 cars side by side there.
Great. And again, I know operations testimony will be coming shortly, but you worked with this operator and this applicant regarding what's anticipated for deliveries and refuse. Your office took a look at the types of vehicles that are going to be servicing this facility, and have you designed this to accommodate those vehicles?
We did, and in our plan set at the end, we do have a truck turning exhibit for the garbage truck. We see no issue with that. Our client works with a private hauler. They'll ensure that obviously the timing of that truck delivery isn't coinciding with peak hours of operation with the facility, but we do have enough room for the vehicle to enter in. Not unusual for a site, other Dunkin' sites, for the truck to make a couple different maneuvers, but you can get in to maneuver, back in, or go in, if it's a front loader, forward to the trash enclosure, be able to pull out the bins, dump them, and then back up and maneuver on his way. So we show that in one example of one maneuver that can be done in the plan set. And the same thing goes for loading. We do anticipate loading once a day at a minimum. For a box truck to come in, it would be essentially a 30-foot long truck. It's not going to take up one of the parking spaces. Further testimony will be given on this, but what is anticipated is, again, off-peak hours for that truck to enter into the site, take up space where the last two cars that are numbered 13 and 15 in the interior lane, the truck would situate itself in that location. The operation for a truck to come in and unload takes only about 20 minutes. So the unload goods, those two that area is blocked off, which still allows customers to enter in the outer lane, so it doesn't stop the operation, doesn't clog up the works. Truck gets done, finished, it then maneuvers out of that space and goes on its way, similar to the garbage truck.
Brett, when you design a site like this for an applicant who's been operating at this location for 30-plus years, when it comes to deliveries and refuse, is it helpful to you to have that history and to know that they have the control over these types of activities that are coming and going to the site?
Absolutely, and when you look actually even at the existing site, the same thing from the trash perspective and getting a vehicle in there with the operation of the facility, that has to happen there as well, because you still have a similar situation of the driveways close to one another. It pulls in, it's pulling into an area, the trash enclosure right now is an area where the outer drive lane ordering area is in this corner. So when that truck comes in, he's taking up lane and spaces, and so that same coordination has to take effect today. We expect that to happen in the future.
And I just want to be clear to the board, we do have other witnesses. Mr. Scapinet's colleague from Dynamic Traffic is going to speak to you directly on traffic. We're going to get to that. Mr. Scapinet's is not going to speak to traffic. Obviously, you worked in tandem with your traffic engineer to design the drive-through, correct?
Yes,
And his input is what's reflected on this plan.
that is correct.
Brett, you've had an opportunity to review the reports. We've already identified the police and the fire no longer have any comments regarding this application.
Right.
The Collier's report, the township engineer dated November 18, 2024, you've hit a number of these items. I know the planner will talk to the variances. From an engineering standpoint, is there anything that's been recommended by the township engineer that you take issue with or that requires a response, or are all these satisfactory?
There are just a few, and I think starting with, obviously the first page is a summary. Page 2, no comment. There's statements that I agree with. If you go to page 3, item 1.8, it brings up the number of parking spaces. We do have the 2, as I described before, in accordance with the calculation done based on a restaurant use. It's noted, though, however, that that the ordinance requires 5 parking spaces, and don't necessarily agree with that because the 5 parking spaces doesn't conform with the restaurant requirement. So, but regardless, I did note we do have the 4 parking spaces that are out along the street, so we do have a total of 6. So it's really a sort of we have 2 on site, 4 outside, total of 6. I think we meet the requirement as a result of that. It's just that we don't have all located within the confines of the property. Then item 1.16, we need to address, and that's for parking spaces requiring 2-foot overhang. For the 2 parking spaces that we have on site, for the stall that's not the ADA stall, we do have the overhang, so we have an 18-foot stall. Then we have an area of concrete before we get to the trash enclosure, so there's room there to meet the 2-foot requirement overhang. But with respect to the ADA space, we don't have that. We have a sign and some landscaping that's prohibiting that 2 feet to occur. We'll shift that sign and the landscaping back to be able to meet that.
So 116 will be satisfied? It's not
Yeah, we will
aware-
satisfy that. I think I touched on 1.17, is a statement noting that the parking spaces need to be on-site, but we do have the ones that are off-site that we're utilizing towards our, basically for our benefit. I have no other comments on the rest of page 4. On page 5, do want to address, though, under traffic and circulation, number 6, the first bullet, there is a request by your engineer to install a concrete median in the driveway on Chestnut Street. As I noted to you, Chestnut Street is the driveway that we are proposing right in, right out. But the county does not allow for concrete medians within their right-of-way. So in order to facilitate putting a concrete island that'll channel traffic, that island needs to be within the right-of-way, and the county does not permit that. So we will not be putting a concrete island there.
Do you know if Colliers is aware of that? Or is that can I note as a follow-up with them just so they understand it?
Yeah, we would follow with them, but again, it's a county standard not to put that.
No, I understand, but I don't know if they have an alternate recommendation or something that might apply.
We can,
We
Mr.
can
Peninsula, we can,
contact them to go through that.
we'll make them, aware of that, of the county's response to that item.
I don't have any other comments on the
Okay. Everything else is satisfactory?
Yes.
If this board were inclined to approve the application, you could satisfy the remainder.
Yes.
Board members, I have nothing further for Mr. Scap, and it's on direct. Again, I just want to be clear that we have extensive operational testimony coming, and we do have a traffic engineer that's going to talk about circulation and traffic-specific testimony.
At this time, are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Skapinitz? The testimony he has provided. Hearing none, are there any members of,
I have a question, I'm sorry.
Mr. Benavente?
Hey, Brett, so my concern was food delivery.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that there'd be a 30-foot box truck that would come in?
That's right.
So a couple questions. You mentioned that it's going to come off-peak.
That's right.
Let's say it doesn't get there off-peak. What is the alternative? Second is, you said it's going to take up the inside lane where car 13 and 15 are designated?
Right.
I think 2 cars are shorter than 30 feet, correct?
No, 2 cars, no. With the space in between and the length of those cars, no, we would be at 30 feet there.
Okay, my next question is, so it's going to be able to make that turn. You also mentioned in your testimony there's overhang on both sides of the drive-through. Is the clearance high enough for that truck to?
Yeah, what's going to happen is that truck would pull into that area, and then he would back out of that area. So it would be managed on-site, and where the truck pulls in, it's blocking that area where those 2 cars are. And when he's done with the loading, after that 20-minute span, he'll back out and maneuver.
All right, so let's
Out of
just
the
say
site.
that he does come during the operation.
Right.
We're going to block off the 2 inside lanes,
Correct.
and then when he's ready to leave, we're going to stop traffic to have him back out?
That's correct. And I don't see it any different than a vehicle backing into, this is a 24-foot drive aisle, okay? We're talking a vehicle that's just, 10 feet longer than a car taking up this 20-foot stall. So he's basically backing out of that space and leaving as if it was a vehicle, as if this was a parking spot. So there's plenty of visibility to either side. We're not worried about site visibility, someone not seeing the truck backing up. So, and I'm assuming, with respect to, you have the employees there, it needs to be managed. You have an employee out there helping to guide traffic as well.
All right, no further questions.
Are there any other board members with questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony Mr. Scabbins has given? Hearing none. Counselor, your next witness?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks, Brett. Our next witness is the project architect, Frank Truillo.
Which one you want?
Let's see, STA, let's see.
Oh, there you go. I got it.
Ah, beautiful.
Should be good.
Yeah, okay.
You'll have to take it to your other one. Want to go that one first, or?
Yeah.
You have to use the clicking on that.
I love your technology, by the way. This is the first time in decades I've come to a meeting without my board, so.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
And for the record, if you could state and spell your name with your affiliation.
My name is Frank Truillo, Truilo.
And what's your group?
I'm sorry?
What's the name of your group, architect?
Frank Truillo Architect.
Okay. Thank you.
Frank, for the benefit of the board and public, can you provide your license, your education, area of expertise?
I'm a licensed architect, 1981, from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, School of Architecture. I became licensed in New Jersey in 1986. I'm licensed in 6 states, including New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Maryland, and Virginia. I'm a member of the American Institute of Architects. I was a past trustee of the New Jersey chapter of the American Institute of Architects.
We'll accept Mr.
Thank you.
Truillo's.
And I've been doing
Credentials.
Dunkin' Donuts for about 32 years now, so.
And your licenses are currently in good standing?
Yes.
Okay. Frank, again, I know you have some exhibits as well. Let's
Yes.
mark this one. We're up to A11. And can you just describe what's on the screen as A11?
Okay, this drawing is numbered A1. It's the proposed floor plan. And
This is a...
I can't read the date. Hang on 1 second here.
This is a 2-sheet exhibit.
It's February 13th, 2025. It's 2 sheets.
All right, perfect. And what's described and displayed on the screen is the floor plan for the proposed Dunkin', correct?
Yes. Just let me-
Okay.
Okay, what you have here is the proposed floor plan. I just want to start by saying this is the state-of-the-art drive-through from Dunkin' Donuts. This is a skinny-down version from a typical store where there's no sales area, there's no customer seating, no tables and chairs. This facility is strictly a drive-through operation, and since COVID, Dunkin' has devoted enormous resources to making the drive-through more efficient. Back in the mid-1996, I worked for Dunkin' Donuts for 10 years as a construction manager, and I worked on the first drive-through in Totowa, New Jersey, where we had the menu board right next to the window, so it was sort of a pull-up type operation. So it's come a long way in making this as efficient as possible. For orientation purposes, the top of the sheet is Tucker Avenue. To the left is Freeman Circle. To the right faces the Five-Point intersection, and toward the bottom is Chestnut Street. You'll notice the building has 2 windows. The first window that you look at on the lower left, it's this window here, is where the monetary transaction takes place, whether it's cash, credit, or debit. That function happens here, so there's a dedicated employee that expedites the transaction. And then that car pulls forward to this window. This window is the pickup window where the customer would pick up its product. And the rationale behind the dual lanes, dual menu boards is that the product be already prepared by the time the customer arrives at this window. And if a customer orders a very large order, let's say orders for the entire Little League baseball team, when that car gets to this window, they'll be asked to pull forward into what we call a pull-forward parking spot. It's a designated parking spot that I believe our engineer already identified. So that car will wait there till the order is prepared. This door here leads to a sidewalk and will cater to the car waiting for that large order.
So Frank, an employee could, if there was a larger order, an employee could run the order out to the
Yes,
car
yeah.
to not hold up the rest of the line?
Yeah, that's the intention is not to hold up the rest of the drive-through lane. If someone has a very large order, they'll pull forward into a designated parking spot, and then that order will be hand-delivered to them as they wait. This restaurant has full menu, full line of coffees, lattes, cappuccinos, full bakery products, bagels, croissants. So the menu remains the same, even though it's a skinny-down, smaller version of a typical Dunkin'.
Frank, my understanding from speaking with the operator and yourself, this new latest efficient version of the floor plan, it was refined, it's my understanding, by Duncan to, and again, the operator will talk more to this, but to limit the number of steps that the employees have to take to make
Yes.
everything readily available to speed up those times. Is
Yeah, it's
that your
called
understanding?
It's called an omni layout, where all the equipment is very closely stacked together in proximity to the window to maximize throughput, maximize efficiency, so that cars could continue through the drive-through lane without any substantial impediments. So both from an exterior site plan and from an interior floor plan, this facility really addresses the drive-through and to try to maximize the efficiency of the drive-through.
So would that, in your opinion, is that, having worked in this industry for as many years as you have, is that what distinguishes this proposal from some other drive-through that the board or the public may be familiar with?
Yes.
The dual lanes, the the separate pay and pickup window, and that interior that's been modified
Yeah.
so that the employees have the maximum efficiency?
Yes, a typical drive-through would have one drive-through lane, one menu board, and one window. We have two drive-through lanes, two menu boards, two windows, one for monetary transaction and then the other for the pickup. So it's by far the most efficient layout and site plan that I've ever worked on.
Frank, before we move to the elevations, because there was discussion about the signage, and we do want to show those pictures that you prepared.
I'll do the exterior elevations?
Yes, I just wanted one follow-up question. Mr. Scapinet's testified that this facility is a little over 1,000 square feet. The existing,
1,090 square feet, yes.
the existing is over 1,400. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
So this is, in your opinion, a significantly smaller building
Yes.
for this site?
Yeah, typical Dunkin' without a drive-through is about 1,800 square feet. So we're considerably smaller since we don't have a customer sitting area.
If you could now move to the elevations, I know you spent considerable time bringing the aesthetics up as far as the latest concept and the latest signage package. If you could walk the board through the exterior elevations.
So the elevation at the top left of the sheet, that represents the elevation that would be facing the 5 Points intersection. We have a Dunkin' drive-through sign here. This is internally illuminated. We have an orange accent band, and then in the background you could see an overhang over the drive-through window. That's to shelter the drive-through function during inclement weather. The building is composed of hardy plank siding, which is a cement fiber board. It looks like wood, but it doesn't rot. It lasts far longer than ordinary wood. The door here is this is the employee entrance door, and this is also the door that the employee would deliver to the pull-forward customer a large order. The elevation to the right is the elevation facing Freeman Circle. We have a Dunkin' Donuts coffee cup icon, which is internally illuminated. You could see on this side, we have the drive-through canopy. This is over the pay window. The elevation in the middle of the sheet represents the elevation facing Chestnut Street. And we have graphics in between the two windows. These graphics are not internally illuminated. These are vinyl decals that are stuck onto the building, and then we have a series of light fixtures. They're small LEDs, they're 4-inch diameter, and they shine directly on the sign, so there's no glare onto Chestnut Street. The first window on the left, this is the pay window, and then this is the actual pickup window. So we have two windows and two overhangs. The elevation on the bottom is the elevation facing Tucker Avenue. We have an illuminated coffee cup icon here, and then you'll see the exterior walk-in box outside here. Now, normally the walk-in box is a silver metallic color. We decided to have it factory finished to match the building color so it blends in with the building and it doesn't stick out, sort of like a sore thumb. So that's my testimony. Any questions, board members?
Thank you, Frank.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Truello's testimony?
I do, just with the pullover area.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's for a traffic engineer or a civil engineer, but is there any concern that will then impede traffic that's trying to get out?
No, that's the pull forward parking space is an actual parking space that a car will pull into, and it would not block any ingress or egress out of the parking lot.
We can certainly have the traffic engineer identify. We'll bring the site plan back up. It's a great question. We'll make sure both Mr. Diemar, the operator, will address it as well as the traffic engineer. We'll show you on the plan.
Any other board members with questions for the witness? Hearing none. Are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony Mr. Truello has given? Hearing none. Counselor, your next witness.
Too much talking. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Truello, thank you very much. Our next witness is a representative of the owner and operator, Nicholas Diemar.
How you doing?
Good evening. Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you're providing this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yep.
And for the record, just state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Nicholas Diemar, D''A''M''O''R''E. I'm COO for NATC Donuts, and we're happy to be in Union, thankful for Union. We've been here for many years, so thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, you've talked about your position with the company. How long have you worked in that position, and how familiar are you with the 5 Points location?
So, being a son of an operator, I grew up in the store. I've been helping operate stores for probably over 12 years now. Full-time, I've been in this position for 5 to 6 years. We currently run 4 drive-thrus, obviously hoping to have more.
So the discussion this evening about the existing store, I know it's been in operation with your family for over 30 years at this location. You've heard from both Mr. Scapinetz and from Mr. Truello, the architect, about replacing that outdated structure with the latest and more modern facility. Is this consistent with what the brand is looking for these upgrades?
Yes, it is. I mean, we're just looking to serve our customers in the best way we can, and from what they've told us is they prefer drive-thrus. It's what most people want. So that's all.
And over your involvement, over the years you've been involved with the existing 5 Points location, have you seen a decline in the use of the seats indoors and what's happening basically in some of your stores that have
Yes.
some of the older seating models?
Yeah, we've seen, obviously, with COVID, it kind of changed everything. People have tweaked their whole work routines, and most people, they're in and out. I would say 95% of our customers, they grab their stuff. People got things to do. They need their coffee, and they need to get to work.
So are you not seeing people, sitting in the seats over extended periods of time?
Very, very rarely. We have these big spaces, big tables. They're nice and wide open, but nobody's sitting there.
Have you experienced any negative aspects of having those seats in either this location or other locations?
We've unfortunately experienced some loitering, which can be, harassment towards our employees, some physical altercations in the past as well. It's been not great in that sense.
We've talked a lot about, and again, Mr. Verderisi, the traffic engineer, will talk about the analysis and the design of the, can you want to bring up the site plan? So Mr. Verderisi, as a traffic engineer, will go into the technical data on how the drive-through will work, but operationally, you in your company have experience running dual-lane drive-throughs, you have experience running single-lane drive-throughs.
Yes.
Can you explain to the board what your experience has been and where your existing dual-lane drive-through is currently?
Sure. I'm going to be as clear and concise as I can be because we've been on a long, long road with drive-throughs. In 2019, we really took a pause and we looked and said our single-lane model is really not servicing our guests in the best way. It was slow, a little erratic, so we paused. We worked with the brand to develop the Omni layout and the two-lane layout, which we built in Edison. We've been operating that for a year and a half, and the goal is from menu board to receiving food and exit, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And I can confidently say in our 2 lanes, we're hitting this number in our peak hour anywhere from 68 to 85% of the time. We're really focused on reviewing these times every single day, comparing them to other Dunkins in the area, honestly, all across the state. It's a gamification. We really spend every single day trying to figure out how can we give better product faster. Just that customer experience has really been our focus.
Having had the experience of some of the original designed drive-throughs, whether they're single lane and single window, can you speak to the efficiencies that you're seeing now with your latest drive-throughs, the Edison model that has similar to this, 2
Sure.
lanes, 2 menu boards, separate pay and pickup window? What's the
Yeah.
efficiency there?
In our new model, I mean, we just flow a lot faster. We're able to be more organized. The 2 windows gives our guys a little, that 30-second longer window to prep, so people are moving through. A lot of people, 42% of guests use the app in our Edison store, so they pull right up, they show their name there. We've already been working on their order since they placed it 5 minutes ago. They pull up, they say the name, pull the window, it's already sitting there ready for them.
So in that scenario, with someone who orders on the app and pays on the app, that even eliminates another transaction.
Yes,
essentially.
yeah. Frictionless is the goal. That's what, from the brand standpoint.
For this facility, for this smaller scaled-back version from what you currently operate at 5 Points, what do you expect for your maximum number of employees for, again, it's only a 1,000-square-foot store?
Yeah, I expect 6 employees.
And the employees that are working at this location now, they would return, I would imagine, if this was approved?
Oh yeah, 100%. They would be very happy, and discussing not to over visit it, but the loitering, I think they would really enjoy just having the space to themselves and the freedom to work and less distractions.
And what are you seeing as far as employees, their demand? How do they arrive at the site? What are you seeing your current, again, you have the benefit of running a store at this location for
Sure.
many years. What are you seeing? How are your employees getting to this location?
It's really changed in the last couple of years. Our employees, 85% of them take alternative transit to work, whether it's bus, whether it's scooters, whether they walk, especially in this area. It's heavily residential. We get a ton of applicants, and a lot of them, this is their first job, and they're learning. So only, I would say, of my employees, probably only 3 or 4 of them have a car. And most of them, they carpool, they don't bring it every day. It's different.
Hours of operation for this location?
We are Monday through Friday, 4:30 a.m. to 9 p.m., and on Saturday and Sunday, we are 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
And we've talked a little bit about deliveries. Mr. Scapinet's talked about that this modernized facility would receive a box truck. Is that your understanding?
Yes, it would be once a week, and just to confirm, there would be 2 guys in that delivery truck, so one would be able to direct traffic if there were traffic issues while the other guy is moving product in or moving the truck.
And you have control over that, do you not, with the
Yes.
delivery system?
Yes, we do. We can request different delivery times, and they send us tracking information. We can see when they're coming, so we can always prep if there's an emergency scenario where honestly, I've never had to deal with it in my experience where they're coming in a peak time, because they all know from 7 to 9, we're moving through traffic, they know not to come at that time. They're either early or they're late.
When you say late, you're talking like afternoon is your
Yeah,
slow
yeah.
time?
Yes, yeah, we're talking like 2 to 4. They usually don't come after 4 because they want managers to be on site while the delivery comes.
And you've discussed the delivery proposal with Mr. Scapinetz using the first 2 spaces in the interior drive-through lane. And your understanding is that's how it's going to function?
Yes, yeah, we have clear understanding, and we're willing to work with different signage to put cones up, so it's clearly made aware to everybody.
And you'd be doing that off-peak?
Yes.
Your refuse, any changes from how it's currently being handled today?
Nope, no changes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, trash, and then 2 days recycling.
You spoke about your Edison store, a dual-lane drive-through, 2 menu boards, separate pay and pickup window, similar to this. How has that store, over the years that it's been open, how is that store functioning, and how is the brand responding?
It's been a great success, and with that, the brand has asked us to be a certified training restaurant, and we've been doing that for a year. And basically, we train franchisees and other brand consultants from all over the country, and we're one of 13 locations. So we're thankful that they...
So you operate one of only 13 Dunkins in the country that has that recognition for efficiency?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So speak a little bit more, Nick, about the operations inside the facility. Do you have a dedicated employee? There should be a floor plan up there. Do you have a dedicated employee to each position? Can you just take the board through what's going on under the roof?
Sure. I don't know if it's up here. Sorry. Oh, I scroll down on this one? Oh, up? Oh. Sorry, it's not letting me scroll. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry about that.
There you go.
Zoom in on here. We'll slide over.
Mr. Truillo mentioned the Omni efficiency floor plan. Is that what's proposed here?
Yes, so here, this is basically a result of 1,000 surveys, or 1,000 managers who filled out surveys based on how can they serve guests better, what's easiest on them in terms of store prep. And it's all the way down to where's the coffee bags being stored for the machines, and it's worked out. And we've been on several calls with the brand, and including the head of construction and head of store layout, to talk to them about things we've seen from our end and how we can really just maximize that footprint and lessen the amount of steps that our employees take and make their lives easier.
Talk about the pull forward space. Mr. Truillo introduced that, as well as Mr. Scapinetz, and how the employees would manage that if there was a larger order, or if there was a reason why you would need to get someone out of the drive-through.
Sure. I mean, I'm really fortunate. My managers and assistant managers, assistant GMs, and general managers we have, they know that these situations don't all happen very often, because these people who make the bulk orders, they're kind of given that coaching. The next time we're saying, hey, we appreciate the order, thank you, but if you place this ahead of time on the app, we can have it ready for you the second you go to the window. So in that case where it is a brand new customer placing a big order, we will advise them to pull up into this space here, and through this door seen kind of at the end over here, they'll run the product out, and we'll get them moving along as fast
So
as
just
we can.
if you go back to the board member had a question about the the spaces. Can you just identify it using, you don't have a pointer, but description, where they pull up to?
So they would pull up to right in this point. So this that parking space right there.
In front of the dumpster, that would be where they would be directed to park.
Yes.
Is there also space where in front of the last pickup window for someone to pull up?
There could be space. If there's ever somebody in that spot for whatever reason, we could direct them to one of the spots on Tucker Avenue. Yeah. I mean, obviously, preferably, we would just have them pull up a little right in front, and another car would be able to get around. If not, they would pull up into that space.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned that your average order to pick up is approximately 2 minutes, 30 seconds, correct?
Yes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
And in the QSR industry, quick service restaurants, how does that fall compared to some of your competitors?
Much faster, and that's by design. I mean, there's no frying, we're really just using turbo chefs, there's no big cooking operations, the customizable options are not as crazy as a Starbucks. We're really focused on people just getting their hot or iced coffee and getting it to them as fast as they can and still ensuring product quality. That's our number one.
Thank you. I have no further questions for Mr. Diemore.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Demore?
I'm still not quite clear on the parking or the pull-up.
Sure.
The parking stall is occupied. And coming out on Tucker, you only have one place to park, and, it's employees or patrons may be parking there, so, I think there's still even though 48 patrons an hour is a lot, you can get through a whole lot of people.
Sure.
It still can be a concern of backing up, that whole flow.
Yes.
If one vehicle with a large order, gets hemmed up.
Sure. I mean, again, I'll say it's very rare we even run into the issue, but if we were, we could always have another employee go out with the food and make sure that they're telling traffic, hey, hold on, this person's backing up and moving through. But most of our customers, they're pretty well educated, especially at this location, that they know that when they get their stuff, if they have a big order, they got to place that ahead of time. We tell them to. Coffee tastes better when it's free. Place that on the app. You'll get rewards points. There's a lot of incentives so that we have heads up notice so we don't get caught up in those situations.
And Nick, just really quick, in your experience and even in your family's experience, how frequently does that happen where there's a situation where someone would need to be assisted out of the line?
Once in the last 5 years. It was a freak thing. Tow truck got in there. They towed it out. We were back to operating within 10
So that was a
minutes.
vehicle that broke down?
Yes.
How about a large order situation where your team just can't process it quick enough? Is that?
Not very often. I mean, even in a nightmare scenario, in our peak hour, we're solving a transaction. If there's a really build-up, 3 minutes and 30 seconds would be our disastrous order. We would be sitting with the manager and the team later at a point in the day saying, what happened with this? And we would go through it. So obviously to prevent that from happening again.
Got it. Thank you.
And the other question, both lanes will accommodate online
Yes.
phone orders?
Yeah. Both lanes.
Any other board members?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. How many employees do you have inside at a given time?
So at our peak hour, from that 7 to 9, Monday through Friday, or that 10 to 12 period, Saturday, Sunday, it'd be 6.
6 from what time to what time?
From 7 to 9, Monday through Friday, 10 to 12, Saturday, Sunday. 6 employees.
In the entire day they stay there, 6 employees, or they have different hours?
No, so they, obviously we build the schedule out based on when peak is. So during that peak, we would have 6, but after that, it could flow to anywhere from 5, 4, to even 2 employees late at night. But we're always rebalancing based on what we see, and that's kind of our edge up on our bigger competitors as well. We're local, we're in the area, so if I talk to my guys every day and they'll tell me, Nick, we're having some time adjustments because I see time reports based on 5 different day parts. So we see that, we adjust, but during peak it'd be 6, especially in this location because we won't be serving inside guests, which all of our other drive-thrus now serve walk-in guests. They'll be able to even focus more with less employees.
Okay. My other question is, do you guys you said you get your delivery once a week?
Mhm.
Do you guys get delivery every day with donuts and product, or is that all made in?
We do get donut delivery, which comes in early in the morning. And
that's
it's a
just-
much smaller truck. It's not going to be a delivery issue.
Okay. And how, in your Edison location, how is, loading and unloading working for you guys?
It's working well. We haven't had any big issues. They usually come with 2 guys, and because we have that 2-lane optionality, it hasn't affected our performance. They don't come during peak, where the NDCP is owned by franchisees, so they understand what we go through, so they know not to give us headaches, because it's run by guys who also run stores.
So it's the same scenario, they have to park on one lane?
Yes, similar scenario.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board questions?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
You said you got a 2.5 minutes from the time they order till they pick up?
Yeah.
Are there 2 employees on the windows and prep cooks in the back? Are you doing fresh food, or is it microwaved, or how are you getting it out? How are you
So-
getting breakfast sandwiches out in 2.5 minutes
Yeah,
is my
it's
question, I guess.
mostly frozen food, and we bake early in the morning, so.
Not at this
everything-
location.
Well, no.
Not at this location, you
Yeah,
don't
no,
bake here.
not donuts. We bake like breads, like bagels. Donuts are delivered in, but we bake breads early in the morning. We're very prepared. We have hot holding for when we turbo chef frozen food, which is super powered.
Nick,
microwave.
explain what a turbo chef is. Is that a microwave essentially?
Yes,
Okay.
a very restaurant industrial sized microwave.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other board questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question Mr. Demore's testimony? Hearing none, Counselor?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Nick.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Our next witness is our traffic engineer, Nick Verderisi.
I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth.
I do.
And for the record, state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Nicholas Verderisi, Verderese.
Thank you.
I'm a principal at Dynamic Traffic.
Nick, for the public and the board, can you provide your education, area of expertise, and the licenses you hold?
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Rutgers University in 1990. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. Traffic engineering is my specialty.
And you've been accepted by planning and zoning boards?
Oh, yes.
As an expert?
This one a number of times, as well as 250 other boards.
Thank you.
We'll accept his credentials.
Thank you, Chairman. Nick, we've had extensive testimony regarding the drive-through, both from Mr. Scapinet's engineering as well as the operator, Mr. Diamore. Can you just speak to the work that you and the traffic team at your company put into this design, working with Mr. Scapinet's, and touch on as well your interactions with both the Township Police Department and the County of Union to get to this point?
Yes, so I've been on this property since 2020. So we did our first traffic counts in 2020, another set of counts in 2023, and then we did some newer counts. The latest one's October 24. We just want to make sure we understood the traffic. I'm very familiar with the area. I only grew up a few miles from this location, so I'm very familiar with this intersection, the issues at this intersection that currently exist at the intersection, and this site in particular. As I said, I've been on this site for a long time. So what we did first, years ago, we had some initial meetings with the county just to discuss the layout, where the driveway should be, et cetera. As you already heard from Mr. Scapinet's, as we got through the county approval process, we had almost exactly this plan with the minor change where they were permitting the left turn ingress. At that same time, we were also having discussions with the police department. They had some concerns with the left turn ingress, so we agreed to eliminate the left turn egress. It's a simple change because if you're waiting to make the left turn into that driveway, you can just make the left turn at the traffic signal. There's a green arrow there. You can make the left onto Tucker and then turn into the driveway, so it works rather well. The parking along Tucker, we had a discussion with the county. Just so you're familiar, again, I'm working off of the site plan exhibit, which I don't remember the
Hold on,
exhibit
I'll
number.
get that for you.
A10, maybe 11.
The rendered site plan is Exhibit A10.
A10. So again, north is to the right, 5 points is to the right on the exhibit, Tucker along the top. So if you look at the 4 parking spaces, there's 1 to the south of the driveway and 3 to the north. Essentially, that parking is already permitted there. It's just not formalized with this striping. Parking is prohibited on the west side of Tucker Avenue. So Tucker Avenue, it kind of varies in width. It's narrow up at 5 points in order to channelize the intersection, then it widens out. So when you're in the area of the first parking spaces, the roadway is between 30 and 35 feet wide through here. It's only one lane in that area, so we're using an 8-foot lane for the parking, so that leaves over 20 feet of width to travel past. As you get to the last parking stall on the south, we have an 8-foot stall, a 12-foot lane, and then 15 plus on the other lane. So that's essentially remaining as existing, and we'll be able to allow 4 vehicles to park in that location. There's also some changes to some signage. If you're all familiar, the existing driveway sits down near Freeman Circle. Opposite the intersection is a one-way sign and a no right turn sign. We will just relocate that to the new driveway location. There are also it's wrong way signs. We're going to be likely moving those again to past our driveway so someone doesn't mistakenly make the right. So they'll have 2 signs across the street, 1 on the driveway, 2 signs on the road on Tucker, so someone doesn't make a mistake and make a right. Dunkin' Donuts customers, I'm sure it's 90+% are the same people all the time coming to the site, so they're going to be very familiar. They're the same people that were coming here before, so we don't anticipate there being much of a difference. In our counts that we did in the existing, we had to really pay attention because not everyone parked on site that came. Some parked on Tucker, some walked. So we had multiple people stationed to see who was walking in versus who parked. So we have all those numbers in our report. It was, a percentage of them were walk-in or parking on Tucker. Now you're not going to have any of that. So now everyone's going to be in their car. We anticipate about 80 customers in that peak hour in the morning. If you look at the drive-through, Nicholas talked about the 2.5 minutes, even utilizing a conservative 3 because it divides into 60 a lot easier, 60 minutes. If it took 3 minutes to get from the order board to leave the site, there are 7 vehicles in between that point, so every 3 minutes you're going to get 7 vehicles through. Well, there's 20 of those periods in 60 minutes, so you could, in theory, get 160 vehicles through. We only have 80 that we anticipate that are coming there now. We also did counts at a number of Dunkin' Donuts facilities. There's some data in our report. Those are Eatontown, Hope Road, Ocean Township, Route 35 North, Keyport, Route 35 North. Those are pretty busy sites, and we also picked the Garden State Parkway northbound as well for our report. Then we went out, because since we did all of that, this operator opened in Edison on Inman Avenue, and we looked there, and it was similar queuing at that location. At peak times, the maximum, the most cars we ever saw, 11 or 12 vehicles in the stack.
So
all of those stores, except for Edison, are only single-lane drive-throughs. So the double-lane drive-through with the separate pay and pickup window processes about 25% faster than a single-lane drive-through. So when we're seeing 11 or 12, we're not going to even see 11 or 12 likely in this location.
And this facility, this drive-through is designed to accommodate 16, according to the plan.
16, yes.
Which is 4 or 5 above what you're observing in
Yes.
real time. Okay.
As you heard state-of-the-art mentioned before, this drive-through is the state-of-the-art of Dunkin' Donuts. We constantly ourselves, as well as this applicant, talk with Dunkin' Donuts, talk about their new initiatives, give them feedback of all the data. We send our data to them, and we share all of that. This actually has more, our typical stores, we're usually only doing about a 12-car stack on the boulevard in Kenilworth, which just got approved. We had a 12-car stack in that one. So this one's more than that one's providing.
And you're confident, based on your observations, your analysis, and your visual analysis of these different sites, and this design that your colleagues prepared, that there'll be no queuing issues that could back up onto the roadways?
No, this is the Cadillac of drive-throughs.
And Nick, could you speak to the, some of the access points and what you've observed and what your opinion is as to, I want to compare what's out there today.
Yes.
There's parking, there's people going in and out of different driveways, that versus keeping everybody moving in one direction in their vehicle. Do you have an opinion? We have a planner who's going to talk about safety and planning justifications, but as a traffic engineer, when you're designing these sites and keeping people in their vehicles versus what you're seeing out there today, do you have an opinion how that's going to work?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the existing driveways and the proposed and what I like better about the proposed. So let's start at Tucker. Our driveway now is about mid-block on Tucker between Freeman Circle and 5 Points. So that's a good thing because at some peak times, the queues can back up and then can extend on to Tucker for people that are coming down, making the left turn into there. So what this does is it moves the driveway away from any of that queue. Also, the same thing happens on Chestnut. So in this plan, you're only permitted to make a right turn in or a right turn out from the driveway. In the existing, it's very complicated. There are some conflicting signs and some things at that driveway. There's a very small sign that says the driveway is exit only, but there's nothing that tells people they can't make a right turn in. Plenty of people make a right turn in. We did the traffic counts. There's no reason not to permit right turns in. What there also is there's a sign, so the driveway sits, it's wide enough for two-way traffic. It sits down here near the stop bar. At the start of that driveway, there's a sign that says, stop here on red. So what happens is, the people that obey it, some go in front of the driveway anyway, but that shortens the queue. So what happens is, instead of being able to stack from the stop bar back, it actually lengthens the queue, maybe is what I want to say. It starts the queue 2 vehicles further to the north, so the queue backs up almost to 5 Points. We counted 7 vehicles at the peak time during our surveys. Now, pushing that 2 vehicles forward actually helps that location and helps the traffic in the southbound direction. The heavier volume is in the northbound. Southbound gets split between Tucker and Chestnut if you're going south, but everyone coming north has to drive on Chestnut to get to 5 Points. So all of the traffic on Tucker north comes down through Freeman Circle, double left turn lanes, they make the left turn out, and then feed the 3 lanes at the intersection. In the southbound direction, there's 2 separate. Tucker actually has heavier traffic volume in the southbound direction during the morning peak hour, which is interesting to me, than Chestnut. But that's a good thing, so it splits. So in the morning, the traffic is lighter. Traffic is heaviest in the evening peak hour, but traffic for this facility is heaviest in the morning, so it's complementary that the Dunkin' Donuts. So it isn't creating additional traffic on top of the peak time. It has traffic during the time when there's not as much volume as there is in some of the other peak hours. So we've done a nice job in actually moving the driveways closer to 5 Points and having them be only right turn in, right turn out with all the proper signage and striping, et cetera, is going to be a benefit to how the existing site operates versus how this future site.
And I'm assuming those benefits that you've just described were the reason and the justification of why the counties endorsed this design versus another design or something that would have been out there currently.
Absolutely, yes.
And when you're looking at a site that's drive-through only, from a traffic perspective, keeping that one flow in one direction versus parking on a tighter site, do you have an opinion, those movements of, quick in and outs and out of parking spaces versus, a counterclockwise flow that everybody's moving at a similar pace?
Yeah, so this works real nice. You're not really going to have people pulling in and out of these parking spaces on the site. So you're not going to have much maneuvering in the backup direction. On the existing site, you're all familiar, all the parking sits down here at the south end. There's actually a small couple parking spaces that are near the front door that people pull in there. People are coming out of the front door, they're backing up in front of the front door, It's not the greatest situation. There's a lot of pedestrian and vehicle interaction. There's no pedestrian and vehicle interaction on this site.
And also, again, Mr. Scapinet's talked about delivery vehicles, refuse accessing the site, or emergency vehicles. You're comfortable that this design will allow those movements to occur without any conflict?
Yeah, as far as emergency vehicles, maybe an ambulance might come on the site or police. Any fire, they'll just fight that from the street. It's a very small site, so they'll park along Tucker or Chestnut. As far as trash, we have a turning template, and our vehicle that we show for the trash actually does almost exactly what we plan for our delivery vehicle to do, is pull into that area where the vehicles 13 and 15 are, park in that location. It's wide enough to stop there safely. As you heard the operator mention, there are 2 people in the truck. So what we like to do is do the backing maneuver after the delivery, so they pull in forward, park, do all of the activity of emptying the truck, then one of the delivery persons gets into the driver's seat. The other one, if needed, if it happens to be 11 o'clock in the morning when there's still some activity on the site, that one can sit and help direct the vehicle to exit. And it's, as Mr. Scapinis mentioned, it's well located because you can see the truck from either driveway location. It's not tucked behind the building where they're pulling out behind the building, so there's not a lot of high landscaping or the trash enclosure or any of that. Nothing's blocking the truck on the site, so it'll be very apparent that the truck is there and it's making that maneuver.
Thank you, Mr. Verabisi. Chairman, I have nothing further on direct.
Are there any board members that would like to question the witness?
I do have a question,
Mr. Neal?
and it's concerning the southernmost parking stall on Tucker Ave. It's on the left, appears to be adjacent to the right turn lane going to Freeman Circle. Now, if they want to go south on Tucker, which is through, was there any concern on looking at any weaving problems that they may have in going south and traffic is trying to make left?
I don't have a concern. The good part of that stall is you pull in forward and you pull out forward. If there were multiple stalls where someone had to pull forward and back up, and then there was a car parked right behind them and maybe they couldn't see, they're sitting there all by themselves. They have a very clear line of sight, so I don't have a concern with that location.
Any other board members? Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Coming out of when you pay and going on to Chestnut Street,
Yes.
in your traffic survey, you admitted that you saw people making illegal left turns.
Correct.
Is there something that will help prevent that? Since the concrete barrier that's shown here is not going to be allowed, the county said you can't put it there?
Yeah, so the county design standards does not permit that island. For the county, the importance to them is safe pedestrian circulation past. And so the way this is designed, the sidewalk stays flush, and there's just a little apron. You don't have handicap ramps that come down to a driveway. The county wants to prioritize the pedestrians, so that's the way this is designed. And as far as the vehicle, in this location, it's more likely to discourage someone from trying to make a left out because the queue is backed up to that location most of the time periods. If you're trying to make a left out of the driveway where it is in the existing, it's twice as far from the intersection. So there's a lot of times where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I can pull out of here, and you do.
You feel like the traffic...
If the cars are stacked in front of you,
You
you're
feel
not
like the
gonna do
traffic
it.
will be backed
You might
up?
try to do it once, then you'll just go out the other way and come around to the signal and make essentially 360.
So you feel like the traffic will be backed up from 5 points closer to the driveway?
Yeah, so on the
That's gonna
northbound
discourage them.
side, during almost every cycle of the signal, the traffic backs up to the location of that driveway. So it's actually a good thing that the traffic is backed up. And we've moved the drive, so if you're familiar with the 7-Eleven, right now the 7-Eleven driveway is kind of opposite the
Right.
existing driveway. So some people drive straight across because it says no left turn, so they can technically go across. We've gotten rid of that, which is a good thing. So now if you came out of either site, you can't get into the other site directly because the left turns are prohibited. I didn't even bring that up before, but that's a good point, yes.
Are there any other board questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony Mr. Verderese has provided? Hearing none, Counselor?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Verderese. Our final witness is our planner, Matthew Flynn.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
And for the record, state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Matthew Flynn, F-L-Y-N-N, with John McDonough Associates.
Thank you.
Mr. Flynn, for the benefit of the board and public, your education, area of expertise, and the licenses you hold.
Yeah, I have my master's degree in planning and public policy from Rutgers University. I have my professional planner's license in the state of New Jersey, as well as the AICP license, which is the national licensure for planners. I have testified before this board once or twice.
The board
as well
will
as-
accept Mr. Flynn's
Okay, thanks.
credentials.
Thank you, Chairman. Matt, I know you have an exhibit, you have a number of exhibits, well, one exhibit but multiple sheets. Before you give any testimony on that, hopefully it's up there, that'll be marked A12.
I'm not seeing it. There you go, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, so just to dive right in, as was mentioned at the outset, this is an improvement over an existing Dunkin' Donuts facility, really modernizing it, bringing it up to speed with current trends, which, as was stated, is that higher demand for the drive-through, as opposed to the dine-in option. As we can see on my exhibit here, which is A10? did you say?
12,
Oh,
A12.
A12. Obviously, we are in this 5 points intersection, which the board is aware is not the easiest intersection for pedestrians to cross. I've been stuck in, I think, both of those traffic islands in the past. Really, this is an area that's more conducive to driving to your destinations, and we can see on the screen there that most of these other facilities have large parking lots, which really speaks to the fact that this is an area where people are driving, not necessarily walking. Like was stated, this is a D1 use variance. We're in the NC zone where drive-throughs are not permitted. If you were to continue north up Chestnut, it's still NC zoning, the neighborhood core zoning, all the way until you get to the Parkway. So here, I think we're looking at a lot that is pretty unique when you compare it with a lot of those other lots as you go north up Chestnut, which obviously is why we're here this evening. This is a unique property that warrants a discussion on circulation, safety, and general functionality of the property. I have testified before boards for numerous applications like this for drive-throughs. The typical concerns have been raised by the board at this point, again, in terms of circulation, safety. I think in both of those regards, what we're proposing here is an improvement over the existing in terms of the driveways, as well as the fact, again, by making this conducive to drivers specifically. The variances we're seeking, like I said, a D1 use variance since drive-through is not permitted in the zone. We're also proposing some C variances, accessory structure side setback, that's the trash enclosure. We're looking at 5.2 feet, whereas we're required to have 10 feet. Existing, we're actually looking at 1.5 feet, so it is actually an improvement over the existing. Impervious coverage, we're at 81.4%, which is just over the requirement of 80%. Again, that's another improvement over existing. We're reducing impervious coverage down from over 90%. The front yard parking, again, we're talking about that one space that's in front of the trash enclosure. Trash enclosure accessibility because of that space in front of the trash enclosure. The fact that we don't have a loading space, and then fence height, we're proposing 8 feet, whereas we're required to have up to 6 feet. So really what I did for my planning analysis was I looked at the site itself, I looked at the surrounding neighborhood, I put together an exhibit here to sort of share my findings in terms of what makes this site unique and particularly suitable for the application before us this evening.
And Matt, all of these photos were taken by your office in preparation for this presentation, correct?
They were taken earlier today. We flew a drone up and we got some nice aerial shots. I'll just go to sheet 2 here of Exhibit A12, and I'll just orient the board. I know this is a pretty familiar location, but again, here we have Galloping Hill Road off in the distance there. We have Chestnut off to the left, going up north. Just moving along here. Just giving the board another view of the property. Again, this is an abnormally shaped lot. It is this triangular lot that comes to a point at Galloping Hill Road. And I think the next slide shows that, where right now we do have this nice brick paver element that's at the tip of the site there along Galloping Hill, which is to remain, which I think is nice. One of the hardships of this application is obviously the lot shape. If we look at that tip there, it's really hard to get really anything in there, building, parking, or anything of that sort, which really is a challenge on this property, getting something that works here. Did I go the wrong way? Yeah, the next sheet just continues rotating that drone around there. I keep going to the wrong slide. And here we get a nice view of Galloping Hill Road. We can see those traffic islands that I mentioned. Again, this is not an area that's conducive to walkability, like might be more typical of some of these other lots in the zone up north on Chestnut. And then finally, just a simple aerial top-down shot, again, just highlighting the fact that this is an abnormally shaped lot. And I think that what we're doing here is an efficient, we heard the architect and the engineer, and the traffic expert, of course, talk about how this is the most efficient site plan that we really thought we could put forward for this site. So in terms of the D1 use variance, the essence of that test is site suitability. Again, since it's a use variance, what makes this site particularly suitable for a drive-through? Again, this is a modernization of an existing Dunkin' Donuts. This is a site that's not necessarily conducive to that pedestrian walkability that might be more typical of other properties in the zone. I pointed out the fact, and we can see it on sheet 5 here, that there are or sheet 7, sorry, that there are many other properties with large parking lots, again signifying the fact that this is an auto-centric intersection, which I think the board is familiar with. Also, in terms of site suitability, we don't have adjacency to any residential. Of course, beyond the bank, which is on the right of this image here, there are some residences along Chestnut and Tucker. Those residences are actually also in the NC zone, so the zoning actually contemplates mixing residential and non-residential in this zone. So I think the intent really is not to insulate those residential uses from non-residential. And I'll just add that in the NC zone, conditionally permitted are automobile service stations, your gas station, as well as repair garages. So both of those elements have a driving component on site that is similar to a drive-through. In terms of the positive criteria, the project benefits, we look to the municipal land use law, the purposes of zoning. Purpose A, promotion of the general welfare. This is a beneficial land use, the drive-through, in the fact that it serves a convenience factor for people driving. If there's inclement weather, for example, if we have elderly people, people with a car full of children, pets, people with disabilities that might not want to get out of their car, this is a use that serves all sorts of convenient aspects. Also, like we just heard from our traffic expert, the safety upgrades in terms of the driveway configuration. Purpose G, variety of uses in appropriate locations. Again, I'll fall back on the site suitability testimony. This is a better zoning alternative than the existing drive-through, which our operator testified is not necessarily serving pedestrians as much as maybe the parking here signifies. Purpose I, desirable visual environment. Again, we have substantial landscaping. We're proposing a smaller building than what's out there today, so decreasing building mass, keeping that nice brick paver area along Galloping Hill Road, so preserving the streetscape in that regard. Purpose M, efficient use of land. Again, this is as efficient as it gets. We're not proposing any pedestrian dine-in, so really we were able to maximize efficiency with the drive-through. In terms of the negative criteria, no substantial detriment to the public or to the zone. I think we addressed all of that in terms of safety, efficiency, circulation with the witnesses before me. Again, this is a decrease in building mass, so from an aesthetic standpoint, I think this is not necessarily overdeveloping the site, and we just heard about those restricted movements that'll further enhance safety. So really all said for that use variance, if this were a different lot, I would have a totally different planning conclusion for the use variance, but the fact of the matter is here that we are looking at a lot that's right there at the 5-point intersection. We're looking at an existing Dunkin' Donuts that's been there for a long time. We're looking at an operator that's been there for a long time and knows his client base very well and knows how to serve them in the best way possible. So with all of that, I think the use variance is satisfied. Just to go into the C relief, I listed them out already. I think we can look to the C1 hardship tests. Most of this relief relates to the challenging conditions of the property itself. Again, it comes to a point at Galloping Hill Road. We can't really utilize that portion of the property for much, and so I think that in terms of the negative criteria, all these variances are necessary to effectuate the use itself. We can also look to the C2 balancing test. The application doesn't need to satisfy both, but in this case it does, the C2 and the C1. All those project benefits carry forth, and in terms of negative impacts, this is actually eliminating several non-compliant conditions. So with all that, I think we can satisfy both the C1, the C2 test, and of course that main variance with the use variance is met by virtue of site suitability and all of those project benefits that I just went through. I can go through the design waivers quickly if you want, Joe, but that's pretty much what I have from the
I'd
plan.
appreciate that. Yeah, the design waivers, again, they talk about the parking setback, and you've talked at length about this property is uniquely configured. I'm assuming that your testimony, and you can speak to it, to have parking that complies with setbacks, that's not located in a front yard where you have 3 frontages like this, creates a challenge and a hardship. Is that test essentially?
Of course, yeah, and I would say arguably we don't really require parking by virtue of the testimony that we put on the record earlier. So really the parking that we're getting here is sort of an added, I'll say bonus or benefit. And then the other 2 design waivers, parking space depth, I think we testified to that. And then the fact that we do have on-street parking being proposed, which again was vetted with the county.
In your professional opinion, although the ordinance doesn't contemplate off-site parking, the fact that this area, according to the testimony, is de facto being used for that purpose currently for the existing Dunkin', does that sway your opinion as to the appropriateness of granting that waiver?
I believe it does, yeah. And again, it's another benefit of these site upgrades. It's legitimizing something that's happening on the site now.
Thank you, Matt. Chairman, I have nothing further for the witness.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Flynn? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony that Mr. Flynn has provided this evening? Hearing none, is Mr. Flynn your last witness?
Yes, Chairman.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this application? Hearing none.
Thank you.
Barrow.
I'll be very brief. I just wanted to thank you, the board members, for your time and consideration this evening. As you heard, this is an exciting application that's been a long time in the making for this owner and operator who's been in Union Township for over 30 years, taking this facility to the next level as far as modernizing it and making it more efficient, scaling back a building that essentially has become, I would say antiquated is a good adjective for it. A lot of thought and time and effort have gone into this design. The traffic engineer and the civil engineer over the last couple of years have been extensively working with the Township Police Department and the County of Union to not only make the site function better, but as you heard from the traffic consultant, make these driveways function better for the public. having those access points relocated, restricted, as was discussed, will not only make this site function better, but also the public that's traveling through this area. Keeping everyone in their cars at a location like this instead of sort of the haphazard parking that's occurring there today, as noted by the traffic engineer, is certainly a safety benefit. As you've heard, this site with 16 spaces for a drive-through exceeds what's out there at most drive-throughs, giving you some assurance that this will not have a negative impact from a traffic perspective. The applicant is looking to continue its successful business at this location, and adding this drive-through will make them competitive with other businesses in the area. For all the reasons that have been put forth before you this evening, we would respectfully request that you approve the application. We would agree to address the remaining items in the review letters that haven't been distinguished this evening by testimony. So again, thank you for your time and your consideration, and we would respectfully request that the board approve this application. Thanks.
Thank you. At this time, I believe we can conference this. Mr. Bentavegna, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say first off that all the experts' testimony tonight were very accurate to all phases. I feel the variance is justified and the property is well suited for the proposed use. I think it's going to be a great site, and I'm looking forward to visiting it when it's done. I'm going to vote yes.
Mr. Johnson?
I also agree with my next door neighbor here. I'd also like to compliment the owners for staying in town, being in town for 25 years instead of selling out and moving on, but wanting to modernize your facility, especially since the county and the Union Police Department have given their blessings. I see no reason why we shouldn't agree with this, and I will vote yes, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Martins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After being in Union for so long, how you guys have been in business, I can see how you guys need to adapt to your customers. So after hearing all the testimony today, I think this is a very well-designed site for a site that is a little irregular. The traffic study was one of my main concerns, but it was after hearing all the testimony today, I have been satisfied with all of that. So I will be voting yes as well.
Mr. Graves?
Although this is a very high volume traffic area, I'm supportive of the application because I feel that it will not impact negatively on the traffic.
You vote yes?
Yes.
Mr. McNeil?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with my colleagues. Professionals did an outstanding job in defending this application. I did not notice any detrimental impacts by approving this application, and it actually improved the functionality of the site, so I intend to vote yes.
As for myself, the applicant really made vast improvements from the original plans. The police and fire department have no problem with the proposed site or the traffic patterns proposed. Based on tonight's testimony, I feel the applicant proved and justified both the positive and the negative criteria, and the variances requested are justified. The improvements will really improve the site and the applicant's business as well. In closing, all the witnesses did a fine job with their testimony. Every one of these did a great job, and I wish you luck on the site, and your new building looks great. I too will vote yes. At this time, may I have a motion and a second to grant the application?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board grant the variance applicable to this application, and that council is directed to prepare a resolution consistent with the board's decision.
Second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bentavegna,
Yes.
Ms. Martins,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. McNeil,
Yes.
Mr. Graves,
Yes.
and Mr. Champion.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time and your consideration. We appreciate the efforts and the collaboration with the township on this project. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
March 5th, I'll put it on for the board to the passage of the resolution. I'll send you a version.
Thank you, Mr. Pansula.
Mr. Chairman, there being no further business coming before the board, I move that we adjourn.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.